Hey there, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Rebecca and my channel is here to share my experiences with yoga, with spirituality, and with life. This video, I'm just going to tell you about me and how I got started into yoga and what it's done for me over the last 25 years of my life. So I started practicing yoga when I fractured my back. I was a springboard diver in college and I had a bit of an accident. So I remember it vividly. I literally landed the wrong way, and I caused stress fractures in my low back. There was multiple issues and nobody knew it, right? I climbed out of the pool, I went back to my dorm room, and I was apparently in shock, didn't know it. Woke up the next morning and I could barely feel my legs. I couldn't walk, and I had a roommate that helped me brush my teeth and brush my hair and take me to the trainer. It was a terrible day. It was a terrible day that changed my life forever. And I was only 19 years old. And from that day forward, things were just so different for me in so many ways. I wouldn't change it for the world, and some of the things I've learned along the way, I hope to share with you so that you don't have to go through all of the torment, the struggles that I went through. So way back when, before yoga was even cool, I was, just dealing with the pain. Nothing would fix it. And this was like before they really did much for physical therapy, because I actually don't even remember going to physical therapy, which is weird since I had such a major injury. I do remember someone recommending surgery, and me thinking to myself, oh no, oh hell no, that's not happening. That's just no, not happening. So I didn't know what to do. I just dealt with it. It healed. I went back to practice, but I was just constantly in pain. And so it was just one of those things that I was dealing with. And I was a kid, and this was in the 90s. And I don't think people really communicated about stuff back then like they do now. Like, it was just a different time, and we just handled things differently, I think. Or maybe that was just me. Who knows? Anyway, I just didn't know how to deal with the pain. And so I was, it was constantly like, lots of ibuprofen and wash it down with a beer kind of thing. And that was really my way of managing it. I went to the chiropractor multiple times a week. It was just a mess. I can't even really describe it. I remember waking up in the morning, and my back would hurt so bad that I would sit up and I would just brace myself, and I would just do some deep breathing, and then I would make an attempt to stand up. And I remember thinking to myself, holy crap, I am only 19 years old. I don't want to live to 80 if this is how it's going to be. Like, I didn't want to. It was miserable. So if any of you guys have ever experienced pain like that, I know what you're feeling. I remember. Thankfully, it's a long time ago and I don't have that pain anymore, but I remember because it was devastating. And now I understand what pain does, the imprints that it makes on the brain and how it changes the personality. But I didn't know this at the time, and I didn't know what I was doing, and life just kind of took me into a direction for finding a solution. So I remember being out, and a friend of mine said, I think you should go to yoga class with me. I think that would be a good thing for you. And I remember thinking, and I probably said it out loud, like, no, I don't even know what yoga is. The word just sounds weird, and you're not describing what you guys do in class, so no, I'm not going. Obviously, I went to class with her, and the strangest thing happened the next day. My back pain was literally cut in half. And I was just astonished. I was like, what just happened? And the only thing I could think of was the yoga class. So literally from that day forward, and mind you, I was a college student, so I couldn't actually afford to go to yoga classes. And so I remember staying in my apartment, and I was trying to reimagine what we did in class and do it again on my own. From one class, mind you, from one class. That's how much of an impact it made for me, and how willing I was to keep doing it. I had no money, I was a waitress, and I went to school full time, and I wasn't paying for classes, but I was gonna remember what we did in that class that day. So I did, and I was doing it like every day, the exercises. I didn't know what I was doing, but whatever I was doing, it was working. And that's when I got my first VHS tape, and I started practicing probably 4 or 5 times a week with the VHS tapes, which was perfect for me at the time. And frankly, I can't imagine I don't know what I would have become if I hadn't done that. So it was really those videotapes and just me like catching a glimpse of, oh my gosh, this is helping my pain. I need to keep doing this. That's what pushed me into yoga. I didn't join yoga because I wanted the world to be a better place and to achieve inner peace and enlightenment. No, that's not why I started practicing yoga. I started practicing yoga because I felt like it was life or death for me. Like, if you want to get down to it, I really just couldn't imagine living the way I was living. And so fast forward a little bit, I continue practicing, and I get to the point in my practice where I'm pretty good at it. And I'll be honest with you guys, I was pretty good at it because I was a gymnast when I was younger, a competitive gymnast. Not a fantastic elite gymnast, but I was pretty good. So I already knew how to do handstands. I already knew about body awareness. I already had, kind of form because I was a springboard diver. So I kind of already had all of that stuff. But that's why I really liked yoga, because I already had that proprioception, the spatial awareness, and I had that sort of perfectionist type of mentality with body movement from the other things I was doing. So it just was a natural progression for me, and I enjoyed it. Thankfully, right? Thankfully. So I keep practicing. I finished graduate school, I move to DC, and I find a fitness center down the road that's offering classes included with the gym membership. Like this is where I started out, okay? Now, just so you know, I started out because I felt like it was, a serious situation. It was my last hope for being pain-free. I used VHS tapes, and then I was practicing yoga at a gym. So I was that kind of yoga practitioner, right? And this was back, and when I moved to DC, it was like 2001. It was, right around 9/11. So this is a long time ago, and there were not yoga studios in every corner. They were starting to, it was starting to grow, but it was, it was different back then. Nobody was teaching about the deeper aspects of yoga. Nobody was talking about, what the chant Om means, for example. They just weren't teaching that in the classes. And I don't think most of them do that now, if I'm being honest. And, anyone that goes to yoga classes, they do their thing, they might do some chanting and some breathing, and it makes them feel a little weird for a minute. And then they do the poses, and then they leave, and they're like, oh, cool, I feel great. But, and that's what most people do. Most people don't go because they want to become some yoga guru and meditate in a cave forever. It just isn't that way. So fast forward, I'm practicing. I have a great job. I love mostly what I'm doing, right? And I'm living in DC. I'm living the life. It's great. And I end up meeting someone who I was going to marry. And I move out of DC. So I move, and I'm in a place that's, totally out of my element. It's rural, and it's kind of southern. If you're southern, I'm really sorry. It's just, I love southern people. I really do. But at the time, it was my first time living in the South, so I had a little bit of a culture shock. Mostly because everything was slow. I find a wonderful yoga teacher who to this day is still my favorite. I love her, and mostly because she's a New Yorker. Huh, right? I mean, I'm not from New York City, but at least we have that like talks fast northern kind of thing, sassy, not really a lot of patience, that kind of stuff, and straight shooter, right? She's a straight shooter. I love that about her. So I start taking her classes. A girlfriend of mine in class looks over and she's just, literally this happened. This is how I ended up to go take my teacher training. This is how I became a yoga teacher. She looks over and says, "Hey Cohen, you want to go to India?" And I'm like, yeah, let's go. Because that's my nature. I want to do fun things. I'm adventurous and I've never been to India. Let's go. So she tells me she's going to do a yoga teacher training and I can do whatever I want. And I'm like, okay, sounds cool. So I look at the website and I'm like, well, it looks like I can only do teacher training. So I'll just sign up for teacher training. And then while she's in class, I'm going to either go hang out at coffee shops or get massages or both. That was my thought, in my head. Because I have a job. I was still working in DC and I would fly back and forth. And I would fly up there like once a month and stay for a week and then fly back to Pensacola. So, in my mind, that's what's happening. I'm going to like some resort type place. I didn't think it was a resort. I'm honest. I didn't think it was a resort, but I thought it was more like rustic vacation that was like in a jungle with, beautiful flowers and I could handle that. I could totally handle that. As long as I have my own shower and my own room, we're good. So we do that, and I get there, and there's nothing for me to do. I'm not leaving because there are guards at the gate, and there's no one just wandering out and strolling about in town because there's no town. It was out in the middle of nowhere. So I'm like, are you kidding me, right? Are you kidding me? So I start going to classes with her, and mind you, I planned on skipping, and so they're gonna so they assign everybody jobs, right? Because we're in an ashram. Did I mention that? We go to an ashram, okay? We go to an ashram in South India, and they assign everyone a job, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, please don't make me scrub toilets. Like, I'll just die, right? No. I'm thinking to myself, it's bad enough that my manicure looks like dirt, and no. Okay, so this is me, right? This is what's going on. And it turns out I have the job of taking everyone's attendance for every class. Yeah. And I'm like, seriously? Not to mention, I'm always late. Always. I'm late for everything. I barely made it to yoga class on time. Like, literally, I would get there. Class starts at 6. I was there at 5:59. Okay. I'm sure it irritated my teacher. Nancy, I'm really sorry. Anyway, I have to take attendance. And, time is going on at the ashram, and I've sort of come to grips with the fact that I have to wear this ugly uniform. It's like a men's t-shirt and these big baggy white pants, and it's hot. There's no air conditioning. I've got ants in my room, and the bed is hard. The water is cold. The food is only twice a day, and it's like, ugh, so vegan I couldn't even deal. So that's how I ended up becoming a yoga teacher, right? I finished the course. I didn't jump the wall, although I did have many daydreams about it. I was imagining myself climbing the wall and running away and never coming back. But I made it through, and oddly enough, after about 2 weeks of no internet, no BlackBerry, I had a BlackBerry at the time, no cellular service, no magazines, no media of any sort, and just meditation, vegan diet, asana practice, and spiritual lectures. 2 weeks it took. 2 weeks, and I was an entirely different person on the inside. I probably looked a little different on the outside too. I think I lost some weight. Yeah. My whole world shifted, but it took like this huge change in lifestyle for me to have that perception shift. And I don't think I would have ever had this shift if I hadn't put myself in that entirely different situation. So that being said, I come back from India and I'm in reverse culture shock. I'm like, what did I just do to myself? Like I feel like someone like kind of dipped me into the ringer, shook me out, and then threw me back into my regular reality. I had a difficult time adjusting to work. I had a difficult time adjusting to friends and family. In fact, I didn't even want to talk to anybody. It was like that big of a deal. It was a really odd time for me. I didn't really know what to do, and my energy was different. I know it was because I felt different. I felt stronger. I felt more in line with, I felt like I knew who I was, but knowing who I was such a shock because it did not match up with the life that I had built. So it's like, what do you do with that? Okay. So I continue doing my job, and I had no intentions of teaching yoga. I just went to the training because I thought it looked cool and I wanted to go to India. Sigh. So I come back and now I have trouble integrating into my normal life because I've discovered who I am, and it's not who I am, who I was, or who I chose to be. So at that time, my work started to go down the tubes. Okay, went way down, and I ended up leaving my job because I just couldn't find the same enjoyment from it that I was before. So I left my job and I started teaching yoga. I did not know what I was doing. I did not know how to be an entrepreneur. I went to school. I have a graduate degree in urban planning, okay? No one taught me how to be an entrepreneur. Nobody taught me how to market myself. Nobody taught me anything like that. And it was like, oh man, now I've just spent, over $50,000 on a master's degree, and I used it for what, 6-7 years? Okay. And then I spent another few $1,000s, maybe like 5 or 6 on teacher training. Right? And now I'm making like peanuts teaching yoga. I felt my world had been rattled anyway, long and short of it. But that was, it was like, I don't even know what to say about that. As I tell you this story, I don't even know what to say about that. Like, who does that? Who does that happen to? It happened to me, right? It happened to me. But fast forward to now, I've had my own yoga school for several years now. I have trained teachers at the 200-hour level and then at the advanced 300-hour level. And I can't imagine it any other way. I love what I do. I love watching people go through the program. I love watching people go through the transformation that I went through. And what I've noticed while I teach the programs is that my students really enjoy the talks. They love the talks that we have before class starts every day. And that's what I'm hoping to share with you on this channel. Share with you just basic daily experiences, how it relates to yoga and spirituality, and how we can bring more of that into your everyday life while still being normal. Still keep your day job. You don't have to leave your day job like I did. I didn't know what else to do. I wish that someone had this information for me back then so that I could integrate a little bit more easily. But it didn't exist. It wasn't there. And I'm hoping that you'll find some valuable nuggets of wisdom in here, that you'll be able to have those beautiful, transformative inner experiences and awakenings along your journey, and at the same time keep your regular life stable and still be, a normal person that can integrate into society. So that's it. That's my story, and that's why I've started this channel. So I hope you find good information on here. So please like the video if you like the video. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. All right, take care. I'll see you next time.